Hello and welcome to episode 180 of Dissonant Waves. My name is Domino. Ritz and Trix are here.
I made the best fucking pasta, and it's so good.
I had a buy one get one free pizza from a local place.
We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We got I got selected some stuff for our Radiohead Muse as we're wrapping up. It's our last regular head-to-head episode of this. Thom Yorke's Tomorrow's Modern Boxes and Matt Bellamy's Cryosleep. That's Tom's second solo album and Matt's first. Trix, you saw the Powerplant People in the Sun. Get some good egg punk. Ritz, you chose Freight's self-titled, one of the many Freights out there. This one's in New South Wales.
Blue Mountains, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, and then as well, MJ Lenderman's Manning Fireworks. Now, before we dive in, I want to give you both a chance if you wish to talk about the music video that just came out.
Yeah, it's a Weekend Run Club, produced by your boy here, Domino.
And Corey. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
the Green Day guy that steps in for Ritz.
Yeah, it's the and he'll probably be subbing in again pretty soon, because I kind of just remembered I got a couple dates where I'm just not gonna be here.
Oh, fun.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, coming up pretty soon.
How soon?
End of probably the 21st, my time, 20th. From there to the 3rd or 5th or whatever date it is of November, inclusive, because I'll be out in Fiji on an anniversary trip, which I just can't listen to music during that time. That's
hell yeah,
just not fair on my partner. And then I am not we'll see, but I don't think I'm going to be the dickhead who's going to go and do a podcast episode right after Wisdom Tooth surgery.
Ooh, that sounds fantastic.
Ooh, that would be a fun episode.
Yeah. I've bled out before on this podcast, but I'm not looking to do anything.
I think we've all done this podcast in various stages of pain.
Yeah.
Pain, sickness, inebriation, you name it, we've done it.
But
yeah,
with the whole lead up and everything to that,
on this podcast eventually.
With the whole lead up and everything going into that, I don't think I'm going to be properly able to listen to anything that happens that week. So I think it's going to be 3 weeks in a row.
Oh god.
Where I won't be here.
Oh no. Boy.
The weekend after that, though, I will be back. I will have just gone down to Melbourne afterwards, but should be back in time for the podcast.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah, indeed.
But yes,
plenty.
Corey and I made a music video for the Weekend Run Club for their Big Kids track, which I'll never forget Ritzy saying that it was your least favorite on the album.
I can't even remember what I said about that album because I haven't listened to it since.
It was just very funny. Me and Corey sitting on this pretty much done video by the time that episode rolled around, and we're like, shit. That's Ritz's least favorite song on the album. It's very funny. But yes, if you all want to ask me, I don't know, where should this conversation go about it before we get started here?
That's a good question.
Who came up with the list of drummers gag?
Oh, that was Corey.
Hell yeah.
So go ahead.
I'll ask a behind the scenes question because I feel like this is what you actually want, and this is what we got the purpose of this whole thing for. So how long have you been in agreement and the first, I guess, idea sprung of doing a music video?
We were talking, oh god, I want to say, let's say roughly this time last year, we were already underway of getting it ready to go. We were not shooting it, but we were definitely planning it out by this time last year.
Yeah, so this
summer, we were probably starting to plan it last year.
Yeah, so this has been probably say around 1.5 years. You've kept a secret from us. I think that's a fair assumption.
A little over a year. Say that.
Yeah, a little over a year. Yeah. We'll say 1.25.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's an impressive secret hold. I'm not gonna lie on that.
Yeah, it was I went to film school. So did Corey. We were at the same school at the same time. We did not know each other. We met later on when I was working at the escape room. I eventually became his boss. You know how that goes. And then I was still working there. He wasn't. And he wanted to do more film stuff. And I was like, okay, I mean, I'd love to do some stuff. Let me see who I can talk to. And I hit up Mitchell. Mitchell was like, "Yeah, let's do a video." And
That's very adorable and very cool.
Yeah.
so we started playing it out, and it was really trying to find the right tone was probably the thing that really got us on the right track, because this could have gone in many different directions. I was going to go a really more serious, very more serious, but kind of goofy in a way, and then it just kind of gradually.
Well, there's that whole discourse on Twitter right now, which discourse on Twitter. Who would have guessed it would have been shit about the Billie Eilish music video, where there was a bunch of there was somebody who said it should have been all filmed in a bunch of like flower fields and kind of like that, and kind of very Sound of Music-esque. And a lot of people were calling them an idiot for that, because that was just a stupid idea for what the theme was. But then the music video itself doesn't really match the theme itself as well. And that's a kind of big discourse happening.
Yeah.
I did too.
People said that Billie Eilish had really good music videos before, and this was like a step down for them. And I have not really watched them, so I don't really know. I just know, for the case of us, Mitchell's videos, like the whole band's videos, have been more serious and more kind of like straight laced. And then as we kind of talked about it more and more, this became just a situation where it was, let's get goofier. Let's do something that's fun. Yeah,
from memory, the current I guess not the current, the previous Rick and Run Club music videos are a lot more high production in their kind of like filming, or I guess look. And this one looks more DIY than the other music videos do.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yes. Very like, yeah, a lot of the other ones are shot on regular cameras. It's there's like little stories like, whoa, we go to the zoo, we go do these things, and we take really high quality video of it. And our video has some of that. There's some like live action stuff in there.
Yeah.
But we basically had a day to shoot this. And as things kept changing for us, it became this thing of, well, we have a green screen. We can set up a green screen and just keep going. And like, we already had basically planned out like what the theme and like what the overall like idea and the tone and the whole storyline of this list that makes you happy kind of thing happening. So it was more of like just kind of, all right, what can we get shots of? What can we do on this green screen? How can we make it work with what we have?
So you had an idea, but no real like actual like scenes in your head.
Oh, we did. We had like full planned out. Like, I had it pretty clearly in my head of like what I wanted it to be, but because of the circumstances of the day and how things change, like Corey was really sick that day. Like, he was coming out of being sick, so he was like kind of out of it. So it was kind of on me to make sure things went smoothly, and he was setting up shots. I was kind of directing the action. It's kind of how we played it. We shot in his house. He was really gracious for that, he and his wife.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that's kind of how it kind of rolled. I kind of was more on the ideas and let's, this is what I want people to do thing. Corey was much more of the like supporting that, but then editing it and like really turning it into what it became.
All right.
Well, there we go. For those who are still with us, watch the Big Kids music video. Dominic and Corey have worked hard on it. So did everyone else involved, I assume.
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't even talked to Corey, so I can't even talk for Corey's sake. But I'm going to assume he worked hard on it.
But yeah, so that's my little spiel about the Big Kids video. Having fun and kind of just doing stuff was really the motivator, like the real kind of ethos behind it all. So, but anyway, let's talk about these albums.
Well, I think now that we've gone through, I guess Dominic's big thing of the week. Let's go to the second big thing you've said over this week, Dominic.
Yeah.
You seem to agree with Fantano.
Oh, okay. We're talking about MJ Lenderman Manning Fireworks.
Yeah, well, I mean, if there's an album that people are clicking on for this episode, it's going to be MJ Lenderman, so I might as well just get it over and done with here. We're not always watch to the end clickbait. We are half the time doing it as fast as we can, and then letting you be on your way.
Yep.
So Manning Fireworks. I'll just do the introduction to the album because I picked it, Dominic, but I'll let you. So MJ Lenderman, he is a member of the band Wednesday. We listened to Wednesday last year. I fucking love that album. It was my second favorite album of the year. I actually got to saw Wednesday twice this year as well, which is really great. MJ Lenderman opened for them in Sydney, which isn't too much of a surprise, but didn't do the Brisbane show, which was a bit of a secret show anyway. Not that I'm really complaining, because the opener for that planer was fantastic. So yeah, this one's kind of become the indie darling of the year. A lot of music publications have been pushing it and giving it high reviews, and Fantano gave it a 3, and I hate Fantano. Not actually, you're allowed to give your own scores and stuff like that. I disagree with his review just in the way that he reviews it, but if he doesn't like the album, he doesn't like the album. That's just how it goes. Anyway, though, justice to MJ.
I agree. I appreciate your passion. That's important, right? Actually, the thing that Fantano likes the least about it, which I believe are the lyrics, because I didn't watch his review of it.
Yeah.
That's the part I really don't mind. Like, that's just the way he's doing it. He's a young dude. He has really
and that's
interesting references. That's fine.
That's why I don't like Fantano's review, because it's just taking lyrics out of context and just mocking them. But there are moments in there where, if you understand the context of the song and going into the lyricism, it's done in a very slacker way, yes, but that doesn't mean just because it's slacker that shit.
Right, like the whole thing about playing Guitar Hero and playing Bark at the Moon, like,
that's unironically one of my favorite lines in the whole album.
Same here.
And it harkens back to the whole Wednesday line about playing Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Like, that was a major part of that song. But, whatever, right? That's the part I don't really mind. That's the interesting stuff. To me, the rest of it, I feel like it's just kind of pedestrian. Like, it's very, like, all right, you did some country. You're not the best singer in the world, but that doesn't super matter. It's just, all right, this is, yeah, okay.
I think the vocals personally kind of work with just the slacker vibes going on here. Like, this is... It's old country like Wednesday is, but it's not the same type of old country it feels. It feels like Wednesday has a somewhat different sound, even though it's obviously the same scene. It's one of the same members. And I mean, when you see MJ Lenderman live, it's basically just Wednesday without the main vocalist. I forgot her name.
Carly Hartson.
I think it's Carly. Thank you. I was like, is it Kathy? No, it's Carly. Thank you. And yeah, I don't think this album is like the whole 10 out of 10 groundbreaking album that kind of deserves the big push that it's getting with everybody talking about it. But I still think it's a consistent and quality album, and I do enjoy the songwritings and the stories that are being told on this album enough, kind of like I did on the Wednesday album as well. So I am going to compare it to that a lot. That's just going to be me. Just don't mind me, I guess. But yeah, I think it's an interesting listen from start to finish. It might not be the I'm not as dominant in my appreciation for this album as the internet seems to be, but I still see why people are loving it.
Like, I've seen plenty of people talk about this album, so I was curious myself, but it's that thing where that Wednesday is a big band and that Wednesday can do some production. Like, this is not just some DIY outfit, right? But this comes across as like a DIY Bandcamp album.
A little bit, yeah.
And for judging it on that stuff, that's fine. But this is not that. This is getting reviewed
I feel like
your Pitchfork and Rolling Stone and everything.
I feel like the most direct comparison we can make to this almost is the bass Shaky Graves Roll the Bones,
which was a Bandcamp hit.
Yeah. Just for sort of that vibe, I guess. That being said, this is more country than Shaky Graves has put out.
I mean, yeah, it's the twangy country you think of when you think of country. It's like not exactly what you think of, but it's like someone who's a little bit younger, who's not maybe steeped in it in the same way that like your outlaw countrymen of old would be, but still giving it his best effort. Like there's something there, but I do not personally understand the hype about it, I guess.
Well, I mean, country definitely is, its biggest influence. It's an old country album, but I feel like there were also periods on this album where whilst it has that same structure as the country song, like Wristwatch and Sue's Leaving You, I feel like the kind of way that the instrument goes into there kind of more falls under the alternative sound that it does country.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, like, I don't think I can really explain the hype. I don't understand, I guess, out of everything, why this is probably one of the biggest indie albums of the year. I guess, if we kind of realistically talk about this year, I don't think it's been that great for indie hits. Like, a lot of the artists that I think they've probably had that kind of breakout just in the actual as the artist, because Wednesday had that breakout last year as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of still falls under that. I feel like if you talk a bunch about a lot of the indie or the big albums of this year, there's not really much artists that have broken out this year for the sake of that conversation. Like every other artist I can think of either broke out last year or the year before. I mean, Last Dinner Party, I guess you could kind of say, but you know, they broke out last year with the single and now it's the album this year. So as an artist, I guess MJ Lenderman's one of the only ones that is as the artist themselves or their output. But you know, they still have those connections. So I guess that kind of explains the hype.
And
I
like,
mean, I still appreciate this album, so I'm not trying to downplay this at all. But
and like, if we look back at like what we listened to for this year so far, this year, there's some good stuff, but there's nothing that's very like dominating either.
No.
it's not just talking about what the quality is, but what has just broken up. I mean, you know, we all like the Your Arms and Michael Curran album. Did that break out at all? But not really. I mean, they'd still had their breakout beforehand anyway, but even that's still only as popular as it is. Just trying to think of
Like the Glass Beach album didn't really break out.
No, and again, they'd already kind of broken out with their previous stuff. I don't think there's really been any kind of big new artists that we've kind of talking about.
Like Yard Act got some good notices, but you know, like Replicated Surprise, that album's great, but it's not, you know, making them a huge force or anything like that.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, yeah, I feel like Yard Act again has probably kind of, but I guess they got a bit more that they can go on. Goalie's Anxiety didn't break out with that album, which I think is a shame. I think it should have been a lot more popular than it was.
I Am the Intimidator should have broken out, but it's just kind of a little fun novelty thing.
Yeah.
It's I don't think it's been that good of a year for new artists.
No, it hasn't.
Not even like for the breakout stuff, but this just goes in general too, right? Like none of the things, like a lot of things I'm listing are good, but like again, trying to build that list in my head of like what was really really good this year. Nothing is really super jumping out at me.
This is a slump year.
And I feel like even if you go into the mainstream, that's the case as well. I mean, like I guess the one that you have a case for was Chaperone, who kind of already broken out in the more indie pop sphere last year, but this year's obviously been elevated to the mainstream to annoying fan bases, but that's just how it goes. But yeah, the biggest album of this year so far is probably Charlie XCX. This ain't her first time at the top.
No.
Yeah, Brad's the one that broke through a lot, but yeah.
I think if you got to tell me, like, what's the best album from an artist that we hadn't really heard before this year or known of, I mean, just off the top of my head, it's either an Arm Lock, a Captain Jazz, or a Goalie's Anxiety, but none of those have broken out.
Not even Doris?
Doris we've heard about beforehand, so that doesn't really count in that anyway. But
I guess.
Yeah.
I know it's a different sound, but that also hasn't broken out either. I mean, it's known in East Coast Australian and Scrams. That's a huge scene.
All 12 of you?
Yeah.
I'm looking back like, oh yeah, Big Scary put out Wing this year. That's right.
Yeah.
But again, it's not a new one or anything like that. That's what I mean for this kind of year. So getting stuff like MJ Lenderman, which for a lot of people, they probably wouldn't even know the Wednesday connection. They'd probably just see a new band name, assume it's entirely different, because that happens.
Yeah.
probably just getting a new artist that breaks out in this kind of sense, even if it's not really a new artist, is probably enough to get some hype going.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's just one of those albums that, like, okay, like, some stuff on Rip Torn was pretty cool. I like some of that stuff. You know, some of the stuff on She's Leaving You was kind of interesting.
Which I believe that's Waxahachie at the end there, and singing along at the end, because MJ Lenderman did appear on the Waxahachie album.
And Carly Hartzman's also credited on some of the tracks as well.
Mm.
But yeah, this is just not something that I think. If you had not told me anything, if this was just another album that came out as like as a part of like Wednesday, like, oh yeah, MJ put out a solo album and he's put out several before this, they'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't really tell you much. All I told you is that I disagreed with Fantana's opinion.
But more what I'm saying is that if this was not like hyped at all, if this was not something that had broken out at all, I would totally get it. It's more weird to me that this is breaking out than it's not. Like, in a way, it's kind of like saying, well, you know, that fucking Oolong self-titled, that broke out all of a sudden. It's like, oh, that did? Really? All right. Cool for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I still like that Oolong album, even if it's not going to be one of my favorites of the year. So every time you compare it to me, I compare that to me, it's not really hitting. Even though I do know what you mean. And I'm still with this album. I've got no complaints about the hype on this, because I still do enjoy this start to finish. I think MJ's got a really nice sound that's going on for here, even if it's not a groundbreaking to the country genre. There hasn't really been that much groundbreaking to the country genre.
I mean, there's some interesting stuff. Like, I think country and emo and alternative kind of coming together in the recent couple of years is interesting.
Yeah.
This falls under that old country.
But I don't know if I would say that, oh yeah, it's like, other than that, country is still kind of going as it was.
We need to I don't know if it's coming out this year, but we need to listen to the Home Is Where country album when it comes out.
It's probably going to be a next year thing, since they've made like no real announcements other than it exists.
Yeah, they've tweeted it's finished at some point.
Yeah. But I guess finishing up on this, I think the best moments on this album are where it gets a lot grittier in the production and sound on the instrumentation, like songs like Wristwatch and She's Leaving You. I think there's some good hooks on this album, some good kind of stories that are going on. Wise, like Bark on the Moon, which seems to be telling this from the perspective of somebody who doesn't believe he has any kind of like redeeming or dateable qualities. She's Leaving You, I actually would have gotten the context of that when he explained it at the Wednesday show, which seems to be about a guy who, after a divorce, goes and gambles all his money away in Las Vegas. Is it to the hype? Is this the album that's going to be the album of the year based on the hype that it's getting? I mean, a lot of publications will probably put it very high up. I don't think I'm really going to disagree, seeing as just how popularity and all this stuff goes. I think this will be kind of stuck in my rotation for quite a bit, because I find myself actually just really enjoying kind of just putting it on and just walking around, I guess, to it, or just appreciating it. She's Leaving You also is just a really catchy song.
According to Wikipedia, somebody at Stereo Gamorti said it was the fall brat.
Yeah, but let's also remember that we also weren't as keen on Brat.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be can I be honest and speak frankly about Brat for a second?
Sure.
I have come to hate that album, mostly because when I worked register at my fucking last job, I would hear 360 fucking 10, 20 times a day. No exaggeration.
They're really bumping that track.
Yeah, that and fucking Chappell Roan's Good Luck, Babe.
Yeah, I'd believe that. See, it's good for me because I still like 360 because I haven't been out in public enough to hear it constantly played.
It was
That's
always
like the
like
only song of Brat I still think about.
it was always like a reprieve when I could go back into the kitchen cooking burgers and fucking just listen to Primus or something.
Yeah.
Like
I haven't been able to escape Good Luck Babe. And I say this as someone who likes Red Rhyme Supernova enough to put it in 200. I've heard Good Luck Babe enough. I don't think it's making my 200. It's just kind of boring now.
I like Good Luck, Babe.
Oh, I like MJ Lenderman.
I do too.
Yeah, Trix, what's your favorite part of this album?
Honestly, I just enjoy some good twang, and this has it over it. And like, it's a country album I can put on and not have to like listen to like right wing propaganda or whatever, where they're quoting like CIA statistics or whatever that are inaccurate.
Oh, so there was no static noise at the end of this album. Totally,
No.
it's Bark at the Moon ends after 3 minutes and 40, and you go on to the next album.
Yeah.
No, let's not overlook the fact that it just does that for like 7 minutes.
It's an ending to this album. Is it a
It's an
good
ending
ending?
indeed.
Is it a bad ending? It's an ending. That's enough.
They made a choice.
It's
MJ and everyone
it's
else.
the death sex of this album.
Yeah, it's funny the first time, honestly, or interesting the first time, but then constantly going back to it, it's annoying. I always to say, Fantano, that your dumbest take was saying that was the best part of the album.
God, he said
Fantano,
that.
he said that. He's I think he was just being a dick.
He didn't like Wednesday, which, you know, makes sense that he didn't like this, I guess. But I liked Wednesday a lot.
It's consistent. He's consistent with the Wednesday crew, but he's consistently wrong.
Like, you know, like my overall gripe, I guess, is that this just seems like a normal album that, for whatever reason, is getting propped up. Like, I don't think it's all that special. It is fine. There are some interesting stuff happening, but like, it's all just kind of like, yeah, he's doing his country thing. He's not amazingly amazing, but he's not terrible. He's an honest working musician.
Now, we have lost Trix for a bit here. I don't know exactly where she went.
Oh no.
But we hope to see Trix in a bit. Until then, Dominic, if you do have to give any props to this album, what is the song that you would say that is, and then what's the song you hate the most?
I'm gonna give it to Rip Torn as the favorite. And, you know, I'm not gonna say that the title stuck with me super much. I'm like looking at Wikipedia right now. But I always had to look at Rudolph when it came on, like, really? Alright. I guess that's my least favorite.
Least favorites.
Yeah. I was gonna say Trix is back.
Yeah, my whole Discord fucking crashed.
Oh. Anyway, favorites, least favorite Trix.
Favorites are pulling it up as we speak. Honestly, probably the first, the only part of Bark at the Moon. You Don't Know the Shape I'm In is also a good one, and I also really quite like Wristwatch. With there's the line beachfront property in Buffalo, and having beachfront property in Buffalo is like having a pig with the most attractive human face ever.
All right.
And the least favorite, I'm gonna throw at that Static at Bark on the Moon. Bark at the Moon.
Well, the favorite and least favorite.
Yeah.
Favorites on here: Wristwatch, She's Leaving You. Those two are going to be incredibly high on my playlist for the rest of this year. Bark at the Moon also up there. Least favorite, I feel like I feel like it's probably going to be You Don't Know the Shape I'm In. I feel like that's the least memorable moment on this one, because I can still kind of remember how every other song it can go when I haven't listened to this in a while, but like You Don't Know the Shape I'm In just kind of really just comes and goes, and I just don't really ever get to appreciate any part of it, because I don't know if there really is anything to appreciate of it. It's not bad, it's just there. I feel like that's my answer to least favorite. Sorry, Trix.
I get it.
All right. So should we try to go over now to the pick of yours that I really, really liked?
Oh yeah, go ahead. So Freight. They are a Blue Mountains based slowcore scrams band. Blue Mountains is west of the Sydney region. It is not in Sydney, it is west of it. So they are a regional band. The Blue Mountain scene is something that I'm not really too familiar with. However, I do know of people who are more familiar with it. Apparently, it's quite a scene out there. So maybe I should investigate it more. I forgot where I was going with this, but Freight.
This album fucking rips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic. Like I put this on rainy morning, just perfect for that. Just driving.
Nobody likes me.
Yeah, it really fucking hit, especially that part.
Yeah.
Like the grunginess of the vocals, the way it's like sang. Oh my god, it just was a vibe. Like that's the overall thing for me this week. It's different vibes from everything. Some were good vibes, some were bad vibes, but it was a vibes week.
Yeah. So I picked this and asked you did you want the more mature sounding slowcore or the more chaotic? And this one I chose as the more you chose as more mature. And in the sake of the lyricism, would I call it mature? No, not really. I think it is in a sense kind of very kind of bare bones. I would say. I don't think there's really much to read into the lyrics outside of face value.
No,
but
not super much.
the maturity itself comes from the way that the actual songs are written in the instrumentation, how the vocals go along with it. I think this in kind of a scene where a lot of slowcore is starting to sound quite familiar. I think they're doing a good job at just kind of distinguishing themselves from the rest, just with that grunginess that they have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think this album kind of just allows itself to... It lets its ideas breathe to a point where maybe they're breathing a bit too much, but it still allows the ideas to breathe, and we get those great contrasts between the softer moments and the heavier moments, and it allows those ideas to really kind of properly be fleshed out, I guess.
It's an album that's really good at just kind of washing you and just like whatever it's soaked and whatever it's going for. And I think it takes a pretty clear idea of like what you want your sound to be, what you want your songs to be to really achieve that.
So I just want to stereotype Trix and guess her favorite song.
Go for it.
Was it Interstate?
No.
The one with it wasn't the one that has the most prevalent bass out of all of them. Damn.
No, I had a maybe slightly weird one. It was Swamp.
Swamp. No, I appreciate Swamp. Swamp's the lead single, I believe, from this. They had a couple demos and stuff out before, but as an actual single, I believe it was Swamp.
I'm gonna give a shout out to Blanket. The way it turns kind of toward the end was really, really fucking killer.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like it's super simple lyrically, but like it hits the vibe. It understands exactly what it's doing. And sometimes you just don't need lyrics to be any better or any worse, any clearer or any more opaque than that.
I mean, this album can definitely agree with that because there's quite a lot of instrumental moments on this. Like, I said the lyrics are bare bones, but it doesn't bother you much when the lyrics are not the forefront of this album. They kind of use like the vocals are kind of used sparingly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. On some of the more instrumental tracks, I actually got kind of like a Porcupine Tree vibe.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like the opening song in particular, I was like, oh shit, I hear the influence.
Love Grown Meat, yeah. It's a very proggy track.
Yeah.
Like proggy but instrumental is a really nice vibe, especially when it's more ambient and like slower. Just like the slowcore moniker. I think this is a really good example of what that is.
There is also a song called Slowcore on this album.
There is. Mm-hmm. But it's a good example because nothing is like too boring, nothing is like too laggy. It all kind of comes together when it needs to.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess if someone wanted to know like what is a good example of slowcore, I think this album would be a good one.
And
Yeah.
I did say this album isn't really full of lyrics, but I should correct myself. The closing track, the reprise, actually is because it's an acoustic version of "Nobody Likes Me." It's basically on there. It's a reprise. It's not actually just a direct stripped down version. It's a different song, but kind of calling back to it. And that one definitely feels like the odd one out here. I mean, for obvious reasons. But
yes and no.
Yeah.
it's not like it doesn't. In a sense, it doesn't fit on the album because of its change in sound, but it is, it's the closer. I'm not going to say it doesn't have any right being there because I feel like it actually does show off the vocal range a bit more there. When we had a lot more grungier vocals throughout this record, it is kind of interesting to hear a more softer side.
I mean, yeah, it's also kind of nice to hear the album go back to something as kind of like as an end cap. And like I never once questioned it. I never once thought, oh, this is different. It doesn't really belong. Never even thought about it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me.
And again, I'll make the porcupine tree comparison again, where with their ability to do that as well.
I also really like their cover art stuff is really cool and interesting to me.
Yes, it's a picture of a highway. I can't tell you what highway off the top of my head, but I'll see if I can find it.
But it's freight, and then it looks like they have it in like another language. I don't know if that's Japanese or Chinese. And then they just have some kind of text off to the right in the same language. I think it's Japanese. I don't know.
I wouldn't be able to tell you, unfortunately. I'm not
I'm weird with languages. Give me a sec. Oops, shit. Sorry. Had the ash between my fingers for a second.
But the cities, but the streets that they're showing are very washed out, very, grainy.
That is Chinese, I believe.
Okay.
The CD release also had the inverted colors of it.
But like if you look at the stuff before, like the blanket demo, it has like a close up of like a power line base thing. I don't know what you fucking call them, but
in the art,
yeah,
I don't think there's any. I don't think that's power lines. I think that's train lines.
Oh, maybe. It looks to me. It looks like one of those like
it is
power lines you see in the field, but it could be train lines.
I don't think it even is. I think it's just
a highway.
Yeah.
Because like the first one is also a highway that's like super distorted and like green and white and shit. It's also kind of alien, interesting. Like they have a huge vibe going on. It kind of calls back to the like horror TikTok liminal space stuff, but also has its own identity.
Yeah.
Like I don't do my research as much as I used to anymore, so I don't know if there's like a ton out there about these guys.
It's not like they're hidden out there. I don't know if I search up Freight Band right now, Blue Mountains, I'm sure there'll be a couple interviews out there. I'm not sure how big the excuse me. I'm not quite sure how big the journalism is currently in Blue Mountains. I'm sure there's something somewhere.
I mean, I guess we can look at Discogs and see what they say.
I believe this is their debut, but they've been around playing for a bit.
This is a great debut.
It's a good debut.
Yeah.
How many artists can be named for? Let's take a look.
Probably only 1,000.
I think I only found 2 on YouTube Music. Like actively streaming.
There.
But whilst we're on the looking around for more info of a band we should have done more research into, I did see this band live as well. I saw them open for a garage sale with Sunrun. They sound pretty close to the studio live because they're pretty tight, so I recommend seeing Freight live. Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to be seeing them again this week because it's going to clash with something else, but we were there. This is a really good slowcore album. It stands out in a scene that's got a lot that's starting to sound similar.
There's
Not,
something
not
to
that
say
it's
there?
all, not that it's being oversaturated or anything, but there's a lot in the slowcore, in the scrams, in which if you tried to tell me, or if you ask me which band is this based off the song, I could easily confuse it with another. And to be fair, there's a lot of music scenes out there, but with how small slowcore scrams is at the moment, you know, and I'm just talking about in the scene that I'm currently following here on kind of the East Coast Australian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You'd probably hope that we're getting a bit more variety at the moment, but it is what it is. I feel like, as bands continue on, we'll find more refined different sounds. It's just how scenes grow. But they've already got their foot way out of the door and probably walked down the hall and into Trix's kitchen. So
Yeah,
good album. Give it a listen. That's
give it
really
a
all I
listen.
can say. It's got good contrast on it. What else can I tell you? I like contrast. It goes quiet and then it goes loud and it flows well. It's a good album.
That's
Yeah.
that's the Ritz special.
Give him the Ritz special.
Kat, what do you want?
Favorites for me. I like Nobody Likes Me. I like Interstate. I like Slump. I like Blanket. Least favorites probably the reprise of Nobody Likes Me.
For me, favorites, Blanket. Really like how that turns out. It's like just as it gets going, it gets better. I really like the Nobody Likes Me, both the original and the reprise. Lab Grown Meat's a really cool opener. Like the whole thing is pretty great. Slowcore is another great one for sure. No real least favorites.
Favorites for me, Nobody Likes Me, Swamp, and Lab Grown Meat, and no release favorites.
Alright, so what are we moving on to? You know what? I haven't picked something in a while.
Heck.
Dominic, I really want to get over and done with this using Tom Yorke shit now.
We are there. We are at the finale.
I think I might have a hot take.
Okay.
Go ahead, just say it. We don't even need to introduce Matt Bellamy and Tom Yorke anymore.
No,
if you're at this point,
we don't.
If this is somehow your first ever acknowledgement of Tom Yorke or Matt Bellamy existing, I don't know how you found this video.
No. It's gonna be titled something like Radiohead Muse again.
I'll just make it exactly that.
But anyways, with this Tom Yorke album, I feel like you could convince me that I've listened to the same album 3 times across the Eraser, Amok, and whatever this one's called.
Tomorrow's Morning Boxes.
Trix.
Yeah.
That's my same take.
I'm so disappointed in that because I like the Eraser. I really like Amok, but this is the one that's disappointing to me because there's nothing going on here. This album is like a waiting room.
Yeah, there's nothing going on in this album. Like it is the definition of turn your brain off Blender.
I'm tired of pissing off Radiohead fans with my beliefs. Just give me
maybe
something to breathe.
Maybe the other stuff was really just me at the time and place where I listened to Thom Yorke getting into it. I remember not listening to this album because when this album came out, it was like one of the first albums that you had to get on BitTorrent. And
yes.
At the time, I was afraid of going on BitTorrent because that was pirating, and that was illegal. So I didn't get it for some time.
Meanwhile, I was sailing the seas at 12.
That's pretty old there, Trix. I don't think there was a single point in my computing career in which my dad didn't tell me how to pirate.
Well, my father's very afraid of the law.
I just was...
Yeah. You want to know who the biggest pirates are in Australia?
Musicians?
It's New South Wales Police.
Fair enough.
They I have the good old story where they ransacked some bootlegger or some kind of whatever it was around the time when I think it was Star Wars Episode 3 came out in theaters, and they just so happened to take that evidence of the tapes for themselves and start watching the movie early.
Honestly, I respect it.
What's hard to respect
Anyway.
though is this Thom Yorke album.
Yes.
Because, like, there's a couple songs I kind of like a little bit, but like, man, for an album that tries to go in like a house direction a little bit, it really just puffs of smoke that go nowhere, that mean nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is going to be one of the shortest ones that we talked about. I'm just, honestly, I am kind of burnt out on the whole Muse Radiohead. It was interesting for a while, but after a while, it took too much of it. And just a lot of it not evolving anymore. It feels like it's just a lot of stagnation that's happened, and it's just.
I think that's
like
the
I
story,
get it.
though.
I get it. I respected everything that's been done here, Dominic. I respect the whole plan and everything and the way that we're stuck to it. But on behalf of me and Trix, and note that this is not a personal attack, but it kind of is. Fuck you.
I'm never doing anything like this again. I hope you know that.
I don't know if I'm happy about that. Is the thing.
Yeah.
Because this started off really fun.
It did.
but I think this is ultimately like the story, right? Is that at a certain point they stopped evolving.
Yeah.
I think that is the case of a lot of musicians. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
And we managed to look at it over the course of 2 years, and it was really fun for a while, and then they got bogged down in a lot of side projects and things, and then...
So you said this was the last regular episode. What do we have planned? You said regular. What have we got planned, Dominic?
We've got a 2-part finale that I have injected some life into.
He's run it by me, Ritz. Don't worry, it sounds really
fun. No, it's all right. Wasn't asking for the full details. I was just wanting to know if I should be prepared or not.
Well, the plan was I wanted to finish it up as soon as we could, which I guess I could have done then, just did everything next week, but I think I have something genuinely that could at least save a little bit of this.
So as I'm kind of looking to move on to the next part of this, are we all happy to kind of say that the Thom Yorke is a blender here?
Yes.
Cool. I don't understand how the Matt Bellamy one was more interesting, even though it still has its faults.
Yeah.
I think the Matt Bellamy one's kind of sad.
It is.
Sad in the sense of this is the man's solo debut, and it's all either Muse tracks, Muse offcuts, or the occasional cover, one of which we've already heard.
Oh yeah, how many fucking times do we have to hear FIFA?
Too many times.
And you know what though, hearing the guiding light in the again, and I'm just for the first time I was hearing it without seeing the title, I thought it was an Invincible cover. So I thought he was just doing Invincible again, and then because I kind of just forgotten how it goes for a bit, and that's what I feel like when we feel like a lot of the evolution that was happening for Muse. There was just a lot of callbacks happening to their earlier stuff, but just not with that same energy or finesse. I mean, the best song off this though is "Take a Bow" because that's the best song of the ones on here. I guess. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I mean, the 4 hands piano version, I guess there were either 2 pianos or 4 hands on a piano, who knows?
Could be either. 4 hands on a piano is actually fairly common.
So that's interesting. That's an interesting take on it, but other than that, I just, it's sad. Also, 3 of the tracks were auctioned off as NFTs.
Oh, that just brought it down ranks for me.
It was also released as an LP for some reason.
I think the only genuine compliment I can give this album is that Matt Bellamy has a really nice voice.
Yeah.
Do
you so his Prey track is from Game of Thrones. Do you want to know why it's called Jeff's Guitar?
Whose guitar did he steal?
Jeff Buckley's.
Ooh.
No.
Ooh.
So, like,
This is our last goodbye. Hate to see the love between us die.
so the question really is it better to be a puff of smoke, meaning nothing, or just to be this sad?
Well, let's be real about both of their careers. I mean, Radiohead is still regarded in high regards.
Yes.
So Thom
Mhm.
Yorke doesn't even have to have that question. But with Matt Bellamy, and assuming this is the last regular episode, we can do kind of a bit of a wrap up. And this has turned from Muse v Radiohead to Thom Yorke v Matt Bellamy.
Yes.
And the answer for who won is Thom Yorke.
Yeah.
It's not our judging to do. It's the public opinion, and the public opinion has already decided way before we started this.
Right, but that's
It's
not
Thom
fun
Yorke.
if you just rely on the public.
No, I know. But with Matt Bellamy, I still feel going back into that early career and going back to those early albums. As much as it was easy to rip on every band that was trying something as a Radiohead ripoff, they weren't. They had their own sound. They made some incredible albums to start off with. I still love the fuck out of Absolution. I love Black Holes and Revelations. I like Showbiz. I like Origin of Symmetry. Resistance, despite its faults, still comes back as a good album. They had a really good run, but just after that, it really fell. I mean, Second Law to me feels like the last breath of fresh air that they had, and that was not regarded as a breath of fresh air when it came out.
No. But here we are, right? Like we've mapped the trajectory. We somehow have kept it evenly paced. Somehow I kept it evenly paced. Nothing has been too off from each other, even if I did include a few episodes that we didn't have to cover, but for the sake of the journey,
Yeah.
I felt were important.
So, Matt Bellamy at a certain point, it feels like has given up on trying to put out anything new and just coasting off the success that the band has had. And you know what? As much as that's easy to criticize, any band that can do that has had a successful career. So
Yeah.
realistically, there are no losers. People were still listening to Muse, still going to the tours. I think the streams can tell that one of these musicians is regarded higher as a solo frontman than the other, despite them still both being pretty well known.
I don't think
Thom Yorke,
people knew about.
Yeah.
I feel like
Cryosleep.
there's at least a bit more of an attempt to try something with Thom Yorke, even if it is still kind of stuck in the same sound.
Now,
In the end, the real losers are kind of us for having gone through all this, but that's just what Dissonant Waves is.
well, Trix, here's the thing now. We've looped back around. The next project from Thom Yorke, if we were to keep going, would be Suspiria.
I would have to. When I was watching Suspiria, I was just letting the soundtrack wash over me, and in the moment, I remember it being really, really good.
I think it's a great soundtrack, but
I have not listened to it on its own, and that's a different story. A soundtrack can be good, but it can't stand. But it can, for the movie, but it can also not just stand on its own.
that's very true.
So, I would have to actually listen to it, and there's a fat chance you can get me to do that in the next year.
Okay.
So I know this is a bit of a spoiler, but I believe the next I'm going to assume it's not the only thing that we're doing from it, but I'm not asking you to tell me. I'm assuming the next part's going to involve the last Muse album and the last Radiohead album.
Yes.
And I haven't listened to the last Muse album in full. I heard probably about 30 seconds of Will of the People and decided that was enough for me. So I think just judging off and wait until I haven't listened to A Moon-Shaped Pool in a while, but I think if we base it off what's probably coming, I think the winner's gonna become very obvious here, and it's gonna be very unsurprising.
Probably.
Yeah.
But we'll wait till we get there. I'm very happy to say over these two albums, I don't have a favorite because I mean, I'm not just gonna go and say to Matt Bellamy like, oh yeah, you took one of your old songs and did it on the piano, and that's the best song off it. That's not fair enough to get a favorite. So none of these have a favorite.
I am quite happy to go along with that.
Me too.
All right,
Hey,
Trix.
punk.
Well, I do also, just as a last criticism, doing Unintended and then doing the instrumental version is so fucking stupid. Why the fuck do you gotta do that?
Yeah.
Unintended is not that good. It doesn't deserve that.
So, Matt Bellamy, congratulations. You put up the more interesting album this week. Don't think you won, though.
Anyway, Eggy Punky.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I found this album back in 2021. I know Spotify or whatever says it was published in 2022, but I distinctly remember listening to it in 2021. I'm pretty sure it was like uploaded at some point.
2019, actually, it came out.
Yes, good.
So probably just got re-uploaded or something.
Yeah. And this is a fucking banger album.
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's stood out as much as a bunch of the other egg punk that we've covered this year has. Like, you know, we got to compare it to like the Dr. Shores or the Uranium Club. I think those albums to me still hold out.
They are better.
A better candidate.
But
I have tried to give Powerplant a listen before this, so this wasn't actually my introduction to Powerplant. You know, I was a bit keen going into this. And I've come out vibing with the album, but I couldn't say that a lot of it was really sticking with me, other than just I was enjoying the kind of the vibe of this. I think it's just a really good starting point for egg punk.
Yeah.
I agree with Ritz. There were some new wave elements I really liked, some stuff that reminded me of, you know, Joy Division, maybe some of The Cure.
Yeah, I could see that.
There's some of the more synthy side of egg punk too.
Yeah, I quite like the vibe of this. As Dominic said, this is the vibes week, and I'm really vibing with this.
It's almost like we only had 3 albums to listen to this week.
It is.
Yes. And to be fair, we talked about one of them for a while, and then another one for a bit more, and then we talked about your music video. That really kind of got the running time past the hour, didn't it?
Yeah,
it did. But I mean, I feel like we've been in a little bit of a rut of coming across albums that don't really have a ton to really say, and that happens sometimes. There's a lot of music out there, and especially with this Radiohead Muse thing dragging us, it is what it is.
And honestly, my whole intention with this was just to give you guys something fun and easy to listen to.
And it was.
That didn't take up too much bandwidth.
I really like Exit Castle, even though it's like a 45-second track, as like a nice little breather.
I've got to just I'm just gonna come back to something, because I was talking about albums from artists and stuff that I guess have either broken out this year or come to our attention this year. I don't think it's really a broke out this album year, but for us it kind of has. That we didn't really pay attention to when we were talking about it earlier, is the Super Death album from this year.
Bare Your Teeth?
Yeah.
Is that breaking out? I didn't even know.
Well, it's not breaking out, but that was, we were talking about all the quality ones, and I feel like if we're giving a bunch of mentions to a bunch of stuff that haven't broken out, I should have given a mention to Super Death as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyway, go back on, sorry.
I also really like that Jet City Sports Club EP.
There's a lot of good stuff that didn't break out this year.
Donnie Benet deserves flowers, you know. But yes, People in the Sun. It's not like, you know, a super band with the album, like you said. It's not there to like dominate your life, but it's there and it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the comparison to do it to is Met Dog, even though I think Met Dog probably stuck with me a bit more. Yeah. I think those are artists that aren't like they're not really pushing the boundaries of what egg punk is, but they're still quite accessible in that regard, and they're really great entry points into the genre. And I think
Yeah.
they're pretty consistent and quality albums as well.
Yeah. I'd also kind of describe this album as good, like, you get a manic hair up your ass to clean behind your refrigerator for the first time in 2 years. And so you put this on to, like, hype you up or whatever.
I can see that. Yeah, this is cool. This is nice. This is everything a breather album should be.
Yeah.
I think that the fun thing is, I think in a different week, stuff like Freight and this would probably be like solid number twos. But they have had their time to shine, baby. Believe you me.
Yeah.
I think this is a quick one to wrap on.
Yeah.
I like this pick. It was fun.
This is fun.
Yeah. Favorites: Exit Castle, Classic Evil, Take My Money, Get in the Trunk. Least favorite, I don't know, Snake Eyes.
I think I gotta go stick with the cheese sandwich because I think this is an album in which not much is really stuck enough with me to
That's true too.
tell you what a favorite or a least favorite. But the vibe's good the whole way through. Maybe if I got a bit more time to kind of properly dissect it, I could be able to tell you. But it's one of those ones I think you have to listen to kind of a couple of times to really start to appreciate all the things going on, all the different things.
Yeah. Favorites for me, I'll go Hey Mr. Dogman, Dungeon, and People in the Sun. And no real least favorites.
All right. Well, I guess it's time to rank everything.
Yeah.
I think that's honestly rather easy.
Last place, in a sense, is kind of hard, but I think I had to. It becomes a question of like, what's worse, an album that's kind of sad or one that's just not doing anything. And you know what? In the end, I don't think the Matt Bellamy one was really doing anything. So I guess Matt Bellamy does have to come last.
Matt Bellamy's album doesn't really have a reason to exist, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna have to do Thom Yorke's whatever the album title was called.
Tomorrow's Modern
Unforgettable.
Boxes.
Then I'm gonna go put Powerplants at number 3, MJ Lenderman at number 2, and Freight at number 1.
There was a while for me where I was going to put MJ Lenderman last, but realistically, after we've talked about it, Matt Bellamy's album, it's not like the worst thing you've ever heard. It's not going to be like bottom 10 or anything. It's just sad. Like selling it as NFTs and shit.
That's pretty
the
bad.
NFTs puts it at the bottom for me.
Like it's just a fall from grace. Like I would not think that he would have to do this, but also it makes me not believe in his solo career if he ever does more. Next to that, Thom Yorke, maybe it's not the best album in the world, and Thom Yorke doesn't have the best politics either, but he's still putting out stuff, and I know that in the future he has put out better stuff.
Yeah.
After that, then I'll put MJ Lenderman, then Powerplant, then at the top is Freight.
All right. For me, I'm gonna have to put Matt Bellamy down at the bottom, as I said, just for the NFTs. Then Thom Yorke for not doing NFTs, although there's a whole other host of issues with Thom Yorke I won't get into. And then, I'll go MJ Lenderman, Powerplant, and Freight.
Hey, I got a universal number 1 for the first time in ages. It's actually, I'm pretty sure it's actually been a while since I got a universal number 1.
I feel like that can't.
Yeah, I think I got a couple in a row more than you.
Yeah,
it's very possible. Looking back, yeah, it wasn't Yard Act, wasn't Death of a Rabbit, not DMAs. Yeah, it's been a while for you. Well, congrats.
Congrats.
All right.
Next
week, shall I unveil my plan?
Go for it.
Is this something where we won't really be picking other stuff of the week, or is it a?
No, you are. I just
cool.
I just have as an apology, or at least as a way to make this more interesting. We are doing doing a moon-shaped pool, Radiohead's most recent album, but I consciously did not include the other single that came out around this time on our last episode, where we covered the singles. Around this time, Radiohead did a Bond theme for Spectre.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
I remember this. I remember
It
this.
very much did not get picked, but they released it anyway. So I thought, well, let's take a look at some James Bond themes that did get picked. So I have a playlist I have created. It has 10 Bond themes, then Spectre, and then I also make the case for 5 other artists I think should get their own Bond theme.
I think, if I'm going into the playlist, I think we mentioned that Supremacy was the best Bond theme to never be a Bond theme, so...
Muse is not going to count.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's always been a kind of classic, topic of, discussion back when the Bond films back in that day, so...
Yes.
Yeah, I consider you interesting.
Yeah.
So, with this...
Yeah.
I'm going to present you the playlist. Like I said, 10 Bond themes, Spectre, and a few other ideas I have for who could do it. I would love it if you two did some homework and came back next week with 5 artists of your own.
All right.
Alrighty. Make sure to hold me to that throughout the week, please. I'm notoriously bad with homework.
Yeah.
That is very fair.
I am keen.
Hell yeah.
Let me drop this in the chat. Here's a Spotify playlist.
I'm looking at it. I'm not going
Me
to
too.
not going to spoil anything of this, but Dominic has had some takes here.
Now,
Let's
also
go.
the YouTube playlist also has hidden a bunch of the videos already, so we're off to a great start. I'll have to redo that one.
I can also rebuild it too if need be.
But I just want to say for the Bond themes I picked, I did not pick what I consider to be the best ones. I wanted to pick a good variety of themes, whether that's the garbage theme, the Goldfinger theme, Adele, Tina Turner, Madonna. But then I also want to make sure I picked some artists I think should have their chance. Of course, listed in here, Chappell Roan's "Good Luck, Babe."
There's there's another one in there. I'm gonna wait until next week to say it, but without having without having gone through this playlist, there is one song in here which I can go. I can see that.
Me too. Me too.
But wait until next week. Everybody, listen next week. Trix, is that all you're picking, Dominic? I'm assuming, and we're doing the Muse side the week after.
Well, yeah, we're doing Moonshaped Pool and this, and then the next week will be Will of the People, a Muse single that I did not cover, and then your picks for Bond themes.
Cool.
All right.
Trix, what are you
picking? I figured Dominic last week said that he wished that Dr. Dog got their chance to shine on their own, and I figured, hey, since we're doing more Radiohead, this would be a good time to give them their chance to shine, And so I'm going to be doing technically their first album, The Psychedelic Swamp. And then I'm also going to add on their companion album where they recreated it entirely in MIDI. And that is MIDI Swamp.
All right. So I'm kind of just looking on right now at the moment to see if there's anything I was going to go add on to what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to not to make it too, I guess, overindulged. But I think I'll just do the one album. I'm gonna pick a band that I saw open this year, which I thought was kind of incredible. Trix, the closest band I could kind of describe their sound to was clowncore.
Okay.
But don't go into it as assuming that you're going to be hearing a clowncore album.
I get you. I am intrigued.
This is the band Party Dozen and their new album Crime in Australia.
Okay.
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
All right.
So that makes what we're gonna listen to next. I picked Radiohead's "A Moonshaped Pool," their Spectre single, and a whole playlist tribute to James Bond. Trix, you picked Dr. Dog's Psychedelic Swamp, their first album, which went unreleased for a very long time, and its companion, MIDI Swamp. And Ritz, you have chosen Party Dozen's Crime in Australia. It'd be funny if we had an
Indeed.
Australian on this podcast, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be.
Well, anyway, until we can do that, until we can find somebody in Australia to talk to, I am Dominic. You can catch me online at DACICHOCKI on Twitter, Dominic Cookie, and YouTube if you must. I'm also on the Games My Mom Found podcast here and there. There's a bunch of episodes about Kingdom Hearts and Xenogears and other stuff you can totally check out. There is a link in the description below.
I have been Ritalin. You can catch me on the links below. I forgot what I was going to say after that. I don't think I had anything to say, so now we're kind of just rambling until Trix says enough. And
Your
starts
accent. Why are you
talking.
by chance Australian?
I have been Trix. You can catch me celebrating my cat's birthday tomorrow. He's turning 2.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday,
Monte.
Monty.
Happy birthday.
And yeah, check us out on YouTube and everywhere else. Buy a clock with our logo on it, which I should log into the merch shop and update the logo on it and have new merch.
Hell yeah.
Somebody tell me to do that
tried
tomorrow.
to distract me there and then just ran into a door.
Oh, Ash. Alright, well, we technically still have a Patreon going. If you want to do something like that, you can, but...
I need to put things on there, but I've been absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Me too.
Support if you like. We're just doing this to have fun. But yeah. Have a good
Yeah.
time, everybody. Enjoy yourself.
Bye,
Whatever you're doing.
y'all.
The plane is coming to pick me up.
Up
I
and
hear
away
that train
with
a
you.
coming.
Vroom vroom.